Big Monday presented by Joseph A. Bank, coming to you from Morgantown, West Virginia. And it's a big-time Big 12 matchup as the number 20 West Virginia Mountaineers host the TCU Horned Frogs. A look at your Big 12 standings. West Virginia stands 2 games back of Texas Tech for the top spot. TCU in a 4-way tie at 5-7. Still anyone's conference to win 2/3 of the way through. From inside a packed house, WVU Coliseum, alongside Chris Spatola, I'm Rich Hollenberg. And Chris, West Virginia's defense has been brutally aggressive all season, one of the best in the country. TCU's offense has been lethally efficient, one of the best offenses in the country. Complementary to both, we're going to call this a battle of good versus evil.
I'll let you decide which is evil. I know which one is for me between offense and defense. But that said, I mean, this TCU offense is unbelievably efficient. They have 5 guys scoring in double figures. They're an outstanding passing team, which helps when there's guys who can score on the other end of those passes, and they don't turn it over. Now, the question tonight is, can they not turn it over against one of the best teams in the country at turning teams over? West Virginia, we know they're going to get after you 94 feet for 40 minutes. Can that defense put down and hold down one of the country's best offenses?
When West Virginia is at its best, West Virginia, they get 19.6 points off of their opponent's turnovers. In losses, though, that number drops to just under 14. Your officials tonight: Joe DeRosa, Ron Groover, Terry Weimer. The West Virginia Mountaineers in their home whites, the road purples for the Horned Frogs of TCU. A rematch of a game played in Fort Worth back on January 22nd that TCU won. More on that coming up later. We're underway in Morgantown, and the home team controls the opening tip.
And Rich, if TCU's in a man-to-man, I think if you're West Virginia, you've got to make Kenrich Williams and Vlad Brodzianski guard early.
Inside, here's Sagaba Kanate, missed his first shot of the night. And that was something that Bob Huggins, after their last game Saturday, a loss to Oklahoma State, said, the last 5 minutes I wanted my team to get it to Sags, and they never did. They ended up losing that game. There's the first block of the game, and West Virginia's defense stymies the TCU offense.
Well, outside of Kanate and Ahmad being good scorers down there, with the limited depth for TCU, you've got to force those 2 big guys, those 2 senior big guys, to defend. They are so good offensively. Make them guard people.
Now a look on the left block for Kanate, and he's 0 for 2 in the early going. The rebound to Brodzianski.
Well, we saw in the shoot-around today, they're going to force-feed Kanate, to your point, Rich. I mean, they want to go to him early, Issa Ahmad early.
Here's Desmond Bane, number 1 in the conference in 3-point percentage. Inside to Brodzianski. 10 on the shot clock for the Frogs. Now 5, Brodzianski with the clean drive in the first 2 of the game.
Well, there's so much pressure. They're denying all passes that if you gamble, that's where you get beat down back. There's no help. And Brodzianski, a wide open lane for the layup.
Number 2 in white, Javon Carter with the ball for West Virginia. Had a career-high 33 in that loss to Oklahoma State.
So one thing with the West Virginia offense, a lot of standing, watching guys dribble.
Williams the rebound. He averages just under 10 a game. And a nice look ahead. The assist to Williams, the dunk from Desmond Bane.
TCU can really score now. I mean, they play games in the mid-80s in conference. Now they're not defending well. Opponents are scoring 80 against them, but they will get up and down. They've got 5 guys out there who can put the ball in the basket.
West Virginia 0 for 3 to start this game. Here's Kanate. Now Ahmad. Maybe the best natural scorer on this West Virginia team.
And having him back in that starting lineup is big. He gives them another scorer in that half court. One of the areas when they don't create turnovers that West Virginia can struggle to score is in the half court.
Williams, he can shoot the 3. Shot fake that time. And a foul on the floor.
And it helps when you can play in the open floor. You don't have to play against that set West Virginia defense. Nice look ahead. Off of the missed shot there by Carter. Starts with the defensive rebound, and then you get the bucket on the other end. Nice pass by Kenrich Williams.
Desmond Bain averaging 12 points a game, had 15 when these teams first met back on the 22nd of January. Now Brodzianski immediately going to work against the reserve Logan Rout, and an easy 2 for Vlad Brodzianski.
And he's a tough matchup one-on-one. He really is. He's got good length. He's 6'11", and as a senior in there, he's got both hands, an accomplished scorer on the block.
Here's Rout, 31, former walk-on. Ahmad, mid-post. He misses. And the weak side rebound to Williams.
See, to me, that's a settle. Like, he can hit that shot, but you need a bucket here. I mean, it's 6-2 early. Drive them, force them to guard you.
Nice feed from Robinson to Kwat Noy. And the offense of TCU having its way right now against that West Virginia defense.
They are such a good passing team. They're 8th in the country. 64% of their buckets are assisted on.
Averaging just under 20 dimes a game as a team that's second in the nation. And that's the way Jamie Dixon likes to play ball. The local hero, the prodigal son, if you will, returning to TCU. He's in the Hall of Fame, played there from 84 to 87, owner of 369 career wins. He's a 4-time Coach of the Year and would love nothing more than to bring his Horned Frogs back to the NCAA tournament. If they did it this year, it would be on the heels of their NIT championship from 1 year ago. Ahmad misses the first, and he's going up against a familiar face from their days coaching against each other in the Big East. Of course, we're talking about Bob Huggins, newly nominated for the Hall of Fame. He's the owner of 837 wins, which now is 3rd active all-time behind Mike Krzyzewski and Jim Boeheim.
It's about time he's nominated. He belongs in the Hall of Fame. No question about it.
And one thing you were saying to me as we were watching practice was everyone talks about Bob Huggins' defense, but he is next level when it comes to coaching offense as well.
He is uncanny coaching the offensive end. Everybody talks about the press and the defense. He is a mastermind offensively. They run great stuff.
And here's the first time we're seeing press Virginia after Ahmad's made free throw. Robinson working against Carter. The nation's leader in steals, Javon Carter.
Shoot it!
4 minutes gone by, an 8-3 TCU lead, 5 on the shot clock. Williams, no, and Teddy Allen, who's checked into the game, grabs the rebound. Dax Miles, catch and release. The tap back to Carter.
Well, it's good to see Dax Miles be aggressive. He's taken just 9 shots.
Oh, look at that lob from Carter to Miles.
Miles has taken only 9 shots in their last 3 games. He's got 2 on 1 possession there.
And a near steal by Javon Carter as the ball goes out of bounds. It will stay TCU ball, but he's the prince of pressure for Press Virginia. He's a titan of the turnover, but in this battle of good versus evil, call him Javon Carter, the man of steel.
ESPN's exclusive presentation of college basketball is presented.
When you talk about West Virginia, of course you talk about West Virginia and Javon Carter. That was Javon. Anyway, leads the nation in steals, 80 steals already this season. He's also the defending Defensive National Player of the Year. And I'll tell you what, he's #1 in the nation in steals for a reason. Now you know why. Rich Oliver, Chris Patola, that dude can mean mug with the best of them. Last time these teams played, he had 5 steals in that game. And he almost had his first one before we went to the timeout.
Well, defense is what he's known for. He's a Defensive Player of the Year last year by almost every outlet. NABC, the Lefty Drizel. Which, how about Lefty Drizel having a Defensive Player of the Year award, which he would tell you is the most important of all the Defensive Player of the Year awards.
The left-hander. Back-to-back turnovers by both teams, and it's TCU basketball with an 8-5 lead. They haven't trailed so far 5 minutes into this game.
Well, look who they're forcing to bring it up. Kenrich Williams, who played point guard in high school. Certainly not what he does for TCU.
Here's Robinson. Drive and kick. J.D. Miller penetrates and misses. And Machi Bender on for the first time, grabs the rebound. These two teams, no love lost. Things were chippy in Fort Worth the first time they played. Harler off the mark. The West Virginia offense has yet to get rolling.
Well, a lot of perimeter shots. You know, again, you're playing a team which only has 7 guys, so foul trouble could be an issue, and you're playing against the worst shot blocking team in the Big 12. Challenge them at the basket. Still, we got a lot of perimeter shots early from West Virginia.
Wednesday on ESPN and ESPN2, the crossover returns. Our college announcers going to the NBA guys coming back to campus on ESPN at 8. It's going to be Mark Jackson and Dickie V. They're at the Clippers Celtics, followed at 10:30 as Doris Burke joins Bill Walton for Warriors Trailblazers. Then on ESPN2 at 7, Hubie Brown and Jay Billis call Virginia Tech Duke at 9, and PJ Carlesimo teams with Dan Dockich for Kentucky Auburn. All of those games will be available on the ESPN app. That's got to be fun for everyone who gets the assignment, right?
Absolutely. It's fun to watch, too.
It is.
It's a great concept.
So Robinson 1 for 2. He had a whale of a ball game the last time these teams played. 17 points, 7 rebounds, 9 assists for Alex Robinson. And he's been doing yeoman work since the starting point guard Jalen Fisher went out earlier this season, and he's gone for the rest of the year. Here's Noy in the corner. Robinson relentlessly driving into the teeth of the West Virginia defense. And we've got another stoppage of play. This time it was a jump ball. It's possession arrow to the Horned Frogs.
Well, this is the defense just collapsing on the driver, and we've seen a lot of pick and rolls early from TCU. Part of that to bring those big guys from West Virginia away from the basket, and that's where you're getting some of the finishes and the attack at the basket by TCU.
They might not have had the turnovers forced so far, but 13:43 to go in the first half. West Virginia already has 3 blocks. Saz Kanate with 2 of them. Williams working on Ahmad. One of the most patient offensive players you'll find in the country.
Well, that's maturity. You know, again, 2 senior starting big guys for TCU. Used that pivot foot, took his time. The one thing that West Virginia's defense does, it doesn't just speed up your body, it speeds up your mind. You've got to slow down, take your time, be poised.
10 on the shot clock. Carter turned it over. Williams will have an easy 2 at the other end. Back-to-back buckets for Kenrich Williams, and the largest lead of the game for the Horned Frogs.
That's what I was saying earlier. One of the things with West Virginia's offense that they've fallen into is when Javon Carter has the ball, everybody kind of watches and stands, especially when they're into free-flowing stuff.
Miles off the feed from Carter, and they set up their full-court press. And a 5-second call. Press Virginia has come under some scrutiny as of late, Chris. That is exactly what Press Virginia can do to you.
No question about it, and it starts with the made bucket. And that's why I think Bob Huggins slowing his team down a little bit, wanting to run some sets, because when they get into motion stuff, a lot of standing. Last possession, you get a nice UCLA cut by Daxter Miles, and that bucket leads to the ability to set up the press.
Now, what do you mean by a UCLA cut?
It's that high, you get a big guy coming up to that elbow, the guard cuts right off to the basket, you get the feed from the wing by Carter, and you get the layup.
Here's Beetle Bolden, number 3 in white. Inside to Allen. Never saw a shot he didn't like, but he misses his first attempt. Scramble for the loose ball out of bounds, and it's going to stay Mountaineers basketball.
Checking in for TCU.
Now Kwat Noy goes to the bench, and J.D. Miller checks in for Jamie Dixon's club. TCU started Big 12 season 1-4. 7 of their losses so far have been by 6 points or fewer. This looks, when you're talking eye test, Chris, this looks like an NCAA tournament team.
It does when the offense is going right. You know, that's the problem. When you lean in on that offensive end, and that's what you do, if you can't consistently guard, you're not going to be consistent as a team.
Bolden. Saved by Allen. Sometimes your best offense is getting your own misses. West Virginia's doing that, but they still can't find the bottom of the bucket.
Well, that's one of the reasons they press. They want to turn you over, and they're one of the best offensive rebounding teams. They've got to manufacture more shots than their opponent. On the season, they're averaging about 12 more field goal attempts a game than their opponents.
Miller up and under. The left hand off the window doesn't go, but they're going to have 2 free throws coming up. 11:25 to go, and a 4-point Horned Frogs lead.
Welcome back to Morgantown. I want to take you inside the play on the UCLA cut. And it starts with the big guy coming up here to the elbow. He's going to set a screen. Daxter Miles at the top is just going to cut right down the lane off of that screen. Nice delivery here from Javon Carter. Defender goes under, and it gives Daxter Miles a little bit of space to get that shot off. Tough finish. But that, I mean, the UCLA cut obviously goes back to when John Wooden ran it with his teams of old, but it's a lot of teams run some variation of it, some form. You'll get that guard if he doesn't catch that pass, cutting through to the weak side, and then you run some action out of it. But it's nice, simple basketball.
And just to tie that back to the Big 12, of course, UCLA with those 14 straight Pac-10 championships, and obviously Kansas this year sitting on 13, looking for 14.
I was saying to you earlier, Rich, you know, Bob Huggins, known now for defense because of Press Virginia, but every time I hear him in a practice, in a clinic, he is underrated as an offensive coach. Runs great stuff, has a great mind for the offensive end.
I have to correct myself. UCLA has 13. So does Kansas. If they win this year, they pass the great John Wooden's teams from UCLA. The only team to win 14 straight conference titles. But right now, Kansas is in second place in the Big 12. And they still have West Virginia and Texas Tech on the menu coming up.
So I say, that's a big if. Big if.
Foul called right in front of Joe DeRosa.
Yeah, I said this a minute ago about Daxter Miles. In their last 3 games, he has only taken 9 shots. Back in the starting lineup tonight for Beetle Bolden, he has been uber aggressive in this game so far.
Well, Daxter Miles was kind of the poster boy, unfortunately, for the flu bug that went through this West Virginia team about a week and a half ago. He missed the game. 5 different players at one time or another had to go to the hospital to get treatment. They're finally back and healthy, and Bob Huggins is hoping they have that energy that they need on both ends of the floor. 5 on the shot clock. They don't recognize it. Ahmad squeezes one off, and it's a violation. Didn't even touch the rim. And that's one of the reasons why Daxter Miles was back in the starting lineup over Beetle Bolden. The decision-making from Bolden hasn't been at its apex, although he brings a lot offensively.
Well, he's a much better shooter, and he has really shot the leather off the ball. But the communication offensively has been a struggle for West Virginia.
Brodzianski the follow, no from close range. And Bolden gets the ball and immediately looks to his head coach for the call. That'll earn you some points.
That's what the bench will do. You don't start.
Here's Bolden, left-handed 3.
He is really shooting the ball, man. In their last 5 games, he's got 16 threes, 51% from the three-point stripe, and here is Miles the other way.
Bolden thought about it. Now he goes baseline. Back-to-back buckets from Beetle Bolden. And all of a sudden, we have a tie ball game for the first time tonight. Nice feed from Robinson to Williams.
They're really denying Robinson the ball in the full court. He's having to work to get it back in the half court, but you see what a passer he is. Had 9 assists in their last game against West Virginia.
An early 6 for Kenrich Williams to lead the Frogs in scoring. Allen stops and pops. That's 4 points for Teddy Allen, the freshman out of Mesa, Arizona.
Bad gamble there by J.D. Miller.
Nice lead from Williams to Brodzianski. They make up one of the most formidable front court duos in the nation, and you saw examples of that right there.
Kenrich Williams is such a complete player. I mean, the field to make that drop-off delivery. And then how about Brodzianski finishing through contact? Look at a drop-off. And too late, the rotation there from Rout. And Coach Huggins was not happy with Logan Rout on that play right there. Helped up and allowed the angle for Brodzianski.
And what a luxury to have a big man who could shoot it from the free throw stripe. 81% on the season. Brodzianski completes the three-point play. He has 7. And with 9 minutes left in the first half, he goes to the bench. TCU leading by 3. Lamont West for 3. Well, Lamont West is now 12 for his last 22 field goal attempts. I'd look to get him involved in the offense. Good hands by Bender. Carter. Tough shot. Out of bounds, and it's TCU basketball. Super Tuesday presented by Boost Mobile on ESPN. First at 7 Eastern, Trae Young and number 23 Oklahoma taking on number 7 Texas Tech. Followed at 9 when number 1 Virginia battles Miami. And how about the Cavaliers? They lose in overtime to Virginia Tech and move up in the country.
Yeah, I didn't think they should have been number 1. Not necessarily because of that loss. Shouldn't penalize Villanova.
Bolden, not this time. But another fresh possession for the Mountaineers. Under 8 to go. Bolden gets the shooter's touch. And Bolden is on a little bit of a streak himself. 7 points for number 3 in white. First lead of the game for the Mountaineers coming under 8 minutes, but it's a 21-19 lead with 7:34 to go. Beetle Bolden, averaging just 9.8 points a game, already has 7 in the first half. The last few minutes, it's been Beetle time. Back inside WVU Coliseum, 19 for TCU, and they've led for most of the game, but all of a sudden West Virginia's come back. They have 21, and the 20th ranked Mountaineers lead by 2 on Big Monday presented by Joseph A. Bank. Rich Hollander, Chris Spatola, the rest of the ESPN crew. And do you know do the young people know is what we're asking. Do people know that Dick Vitale was a head coach at some point? He is so innately woven into the fabric of sports TV at ESPN, and yet he was a head coach with the Pistons. Bill Walton, of course, the 78 MVP with the Trailblazers, and QB Brown was an assistant with Duke. So we have a 30-second timeout. He
doesn't just eat tree bark, I guess.
Right after this. Well, it's only fitting. I grew up in New Jersey. They're playing John Bon Jovi, Living on a Prayer, inside WVU Coliseum, and the Mountaineer Maniacs are fired up, hoping to turn the tide for West Virginia, looking for their 8th win in conference. They're 8-5 or 7-5 in conference coming in. TCU 5-7 in the conference, and as we told you at the top of the telecast, it is anybody's guess who's going to end up on top once this conference season is done. Counting down to 7 minutes to go. Here's Carter. Harris for three, and he knocks it down. Wesley Harris shooting just 28% from beyond the arc. Noy strong to the cup.
My goodness.
And no resistance from Bender.
Well, you can clearly tell that TCU is certainly on the back end of that pressure. They want to attack the rim. They are attacking to score.
Carter, still scoreless. And another rebound for Kenrich Williams. Bain, his first three attempts, in and out. Desmond Bain shoots it at a 50% clip from beyond the arc. 48 triples on the year. West inside, Carter still can't find the bottom of the bucket, but he picks up his own miss. And finally, the first two of the game for Javon Carter with 5:45 to go in the first half.
When it came off a set, they run that flex cut for him.
The touchdown pass to Noy, and Quat Noy is going to go to the line and shoot two.
He gets fouled on that one there, and then here's the one before where he just absolutely punishes the basket. No resistance on the back end, and you're starting to see TCU over the top a little bit. From the front of that pressure, they're going over the top, and they get these 2-on-1s down back.
And I'm surprised the Mountaineer Maniacs haven't been all over Quat Noy. The first time they played each other on January 22nd, he got into it at midcourt with Lamont West and ended up getting ejected from that game. He was having a good game too, 13 points, 3 for 5 from three-point range. He missed the rest of the game, but didn't hurt TCU, who went on to beat West Virginia for the first time in history.
He's a terrific player. He really is. He can really shoot it, and he knows it, which is a tough combination.
1 for 2 from the line for Noy. 4-point West Virginia lead.
And we see the zone here from TCU. You know, takes West Virginia out of some of those sets they've been running, force them to run some zone offense.
With 8 on the shot clock, Beetle Bolden is catching fire.
You know, young players can go one of two ways when they're taken out of the starting lineup. They can sulk for themselves, or they can respond the way that Beetle Bolden has here tonight. He has been on a mission.
First player to double digits, he has 10. Williams kicks it out to Miller. And J.D. Miller bangs a three home.
They are so good at doing that. Getting into the paint, drawing help, and kicking out for threes.
4.5 to go. It's been an entertaining first half, 29-25. 20th ranked West Virginia with the lead. Allen from close range. And Harris gets it back for the Mountaineers. And a timeout called by Bob Huggins with 4:16 to go. First timeout of the game called. We're going to take a quick timeout here. And as we do, let's go back to the ESPN studios. Here's Carl Ravitch.
Responsibly.
Counting down to 4 minutes to go in the first half. Big Monday presented by Joseph A. Bank in the Big 12 in West Virginia with a lead on TCU, trying to exact some measure of revenge after TCU took down the Mountaineers back on January 22nd, the first time ever the Horned Frogs beat West Virginia. They have never won in this building.
We asked Jamie Dixon today, how much zone have you played this year? He says, we played it here and there, but we haven't been good at it. They have played some zone here last few possessions.
And they get a turnover on that possession with the zone.
And, you know, a couple things it does. It gives your guys a little bit of a break, keeps them out of foul trouble. When you only have 7 guys available, going to a zone here and there is a good thing.
Noy too strong. And a foul on TCU. You mentioned just 7 players available. Not only Jalen Fisher out for the rest of the season, he got hurt on January 16th, a right knee injury, but Sean Olden, who's come in and really played well in the absence of some of these players, he is also out tonight. He will be cleared tomorrow after concussion protocol. He missed the last game and this one tonight. So a shorthanded Jamie Dixon's TCU Horned Frogs coming into enemy territory in Morgantown. Ahmad, a lot of misses at close range tonight.
You know, one of the things Jamie Dixon said is, I think to be good at zone, you got to be long, you got to be active, you got to play it a lot. And again, he just tried, I think in this particular game, try to get West Virginia out of running some of the sets that they have run. That flex action they've run a couple times for baskets.
Here's Allen along the baseline. Bolden saves it, gets it to Bender.
Not exactly an emphatic finish, but it gets the job done. A little squeaker over the front of the rim.
In this game, you'll take 2 points any way you can get.
Yes, you will.
Here comes Noy, picking up ahead of steam. Rodzianski at the other end.
Again, not exactly an emphatic finish. A little squeaker over the front of the rim.
On the shot clock for West Virginia. 3 attempt for Carter. Well, he was held scoreless in the first 12.5 minutes. Javon Carter, a Wooden Award finalist, now has 5. And we have 2 minutes to go in the first half. Here's Bain. Allen, the teardrop. And Teddy Buckets with 6. And a timeout on the floor with $1:40 to go in the first half. Largest lead of the game for the Mountaineers, Chris.
And baskets starting to fall, which enhances their defense. Javon Carter has gotten it rolling. And we know he is a much improved shooter, knocking one down from 3. And then Teddy Buckets, when he gets it going, never met a shot he doesn't like. Here in the open floor, nice little body control, goes to the floater, nice touch. And again, when that offense gets going, it's amazing how much better their defense is. I think one of the things that they're creating a little chaos for TCU is they're forcing other guys to handle the ball than Alex Robinson. We've seen Brodzianski bring it up. We've seen Kenrich Williams bring it up. Kwok Noy, anything to keep the ball out of Robinson's hands, to keep him from initiating that offense.
Well, when they are right, West Virginia, they are a handful for any team. They were ranked as high as number 2 in the country back on January 8th. But since then, it's nothing but trouble for the Mountaineers. They've gone all the way down to this Monday's ranking. Today it came out, they were ranked 20th in the country. They went through that stretch where they lost 4 or 5. Now they've lost 5 of their last 8 games, but still just 2 games back in the Big 12 standings. They have their largest lead of the game tonight, courtesy of a 20-8 run over the last 7.5 minutes.
Well, and Coach Huggins has questioned their effort, and it has certainly waned. I will say this, and any player will tell you this: making baskets increases your energy. It's amazing how that works. And so I think, again, when they see that ball goes in, their defense becomes better. It's human nature.
Teddy Buckets again. He's already above his season average of 7.4. Allen with 8. And it's an 11-point West Virginia lead. Noy, nothing but air. 8-second differential between the shot clock and the game clock. And West Virginia starting to get that train rolling.
Beagle Bolden and Lamont West. Check in for the Mountaineers.
And Bob Huggins inserts Beetle Bolden and Lamont West with a timeout on the floor. Well, Wednesday on ESPN and ESPN2, the crossover returns as our college announcers graduate to the NBA, and the NBA guys go back to campus on ESPN. Clippers Celtics at 8 p.m. and Warriors Trailblazers at 10:30. Dickie V will be on hand in Boston, and Bill Walton will be there. On ESPN2, Virginia Tech Duke at 7, Kentucky Auburn at 9. I know Dan Dockich will be thrilled to have Hubie Brown by his side. It's going to be a battle to see who can get the most words in at that point. Chris Patola, speaking of battles, this West Virginia defense, as you alluded to so far, the defense has been so good that it's led to better offense from the Mountaineers.
No question about it. When the ball goes in, that's when they get to set that press. And I think they've done a nice job really making it tough for Alex Robinson to handle. And it has sped them up and TCU up in the half court. And then they've, off of some of those turnovers, they have then turned it the other direction and put the ball in the basket. And you know, again, their effort has gone in and out. I think coming off that loss, certainly Coach Huggins had a talking to with his team. And they have played really hard in this first half, and I think, like you said, largely in part because they're making baskets.
And only St. John's and Texas Tech score more points off turnovers than West Virginia. And we've seen the Johnnies do that in the national spotlight recently with some big-time wins for Chris Mullen and company. 5 on the shot clock. Carter attacks. Left hand, no. And it's last shot time for TCU if they could get it cross court. 3 seconds. Williams went down hard, and the foul is called on West Virginia. So with 1.4 to go in the half, TCU will be shooting free throws.
Well, that's a big swing because Javon Carter has a layup on one end that he misses. And a really nice job converting by TCU. They get the ball from one end. Kwatnoy got it out to Alex Robinson, who pitched ahead to Williams, and he attacked, and this potential for a 4-point swing.
Well, Jamie Dixon said they practiced against the press since day one this season because not only does West Virginia show pressure a lot, Oklahoma State does, Texas does in different capacities. He said it reminded him of back in his days in the Big East when they used to always practice against the 2-3 zone because not only did Syracuse run it, but other Big East teams did. Williams can't pay it off, however, and 0.3 seconds remain before we go to halftime. An 11-point West Virginia lead. And the first half comes to a close with West Virginia ending the half on a 22-8 run. They lead at 38-27 in Morgantown. Coming up after the break, we'll join Carl Ravitch, Seth Greenberg, and Jay Williams in the studio with the Land Rover halftime report. West Virginia looking for win number 19 on the season and looking to keep pace with Texas Tech and Kansas in the Big 12. West Virginia, part of Big Monday, presented by Joseph A. Bank, where the 20th ranked West Virginia Mountaineers have a 38-27 lead over the TCU Horned Frogs. Back inside WVU Coliseum alongside Chris Patola, I'm Rich Hollenberg. Early on, it was TCU with the lead, and then all of a sudden, West Virginia started to wear on the Horned Frogs a little bit. How has West Virginia gotten to this 11-point lead?
Well, they did well what they do well, right? I mean, they got after it on the defensive end. They did the hustle stuff that West Virginia is known for. They made baskets offensively, which allowed them to set up their press. They really made it hard on Alex Robinson, who played so well against them in the first matchup. And the other thing they did, Rich, is they got after the offensive glass. They extended possessions. When you're not shooting the ball real well, you've got to manufacture more shots. And one of the ways you do that is by being all over the offensive glass. Those two things, defense and the boards, they locked down in that first half.
They also scored 7 points off turnovers compared to just 2 for TCU. So in those two specialty categories, points off turnovers and second chance points, a lot of people would call those hustle points. 17-4 in favor of West Virginia.
And that's how they mitigate some of their offensive deficiencies. And that's why when it's not clicking the way it is tonight, that's when West Virginia struggles. But certainly they look like a team coming off a loss, and they have been fired up here tonight. And by the way, you make the lineup change with Daxter Miles, Bolden goes to the bench. Bolden has responded, and he had a big-time first half.
Sags Kanate, who you see there, scoreless in the first half, averaging 10.5 a game. Let's see if they start off the second half the way they did the first, trying to get the ball inside to the big man. They do go inside. Instead, it's to Miles, and it goes off him and out of bounds.
Kanate only has 3 points, so and is not in foul trouble. So clearly, Coach Huggins was not happy with how he played in those 3 minutes. Did take 2 early shots that did not go down.
Another home run pass, and Noy, the recipient on the other end. We've seen Quad Noy release on that pressure, and they've had success with that.
You know, there's a couple scouting things we've seen, that being one of them, playing over the top of the press. The other is driving in the half court. They have really attacked the basket in the half court.
Inside, there's Kanate. Still can't buy a bucket. But the offensive rebound leads to his first points of the night. Here's Bain. TCU attacking pressure with pressure, and a chance at a three-point play. That ball hung up there forever before dropping down.
And I think Kanate got a piece of it. So not only did it dance around the rim, but it came off of Kanate's fingertips, and Desmond Bain coming up a little gimpy.
And this is something that Jamie Dixon can ill afford one of his most valuable players, let alone any player, to come up gimpy with an injury. Only 7 players available for Jamie Dixon tonight. Bain trying to tough it out at the free throw line. 73% free throw shooter knocks his first attempt down tonight. 5 points for Bain, an 8-point West Virginia lead. Mountaineers looking to keep pace in the Big 12 and remain in sole possession of 3rd place behind Texas Tech and Kansas in the standings. Here's Noy, swatted by Kanate. You can hear it all the way over here. Nice dish. Robinson inside. And a block by Amon. And both teams aggressively going at the opposition.
Wow, I mean, how much does this enhance your defense? I mean, these guys just clean up mistakes. You've got this one here where he volleyballs it back into Noy's face, and then you get the cleanup here by Amon. That's your 2 big guys allowing nothing around your basket.
This West Virginia defense is not just about pressure in the front court. They could also protect the rim on the back line.
And it helps, you know, because the way that they pressure, deny 1 pass away, pressure the ball, they press in the full court, you're going to get stuff where the other team has an angle to the basket. Nice to have erasers on the back end.
Javon Carter's first 2 free throw attempts gives him 7 on the night. Back to a double-digit lead for the Mountaineers. And jump ball called, possession arrow to TCU.
Jump ball.
You know, that's on the guards for TCU. You got to get open. I mean, at the end of the day, you just can't dance around laying on the defender. You've got to get open.
Bain on the bench getting tended to, favoring that left leg. To shoot for the Frogs. Robinson dials it up long distance, no good, but a foul underneath the basket, says Ron Groover. And that's going to go on Daxter Miles, Chris.
We have seen Javon Carter take a lot of good guards out of games. We've seen him do it with Trae Young, at least make it difficult for Trae Young. And he is doing the same thing here with Alex Robinson.
There's Huggy Bear doing a little shuffle on the court. That's a hot dance move in Morgantown. Trying to get his point across to this veteran officiating crew.
And he has been all over them tonight. He was not happy with the officiating in their loss to Oklahoma State.
Rodzianski trying to force it inside. It's batted out of bounds once again. It stays TCU basketball. 24 on the shot clock, and good news for Jamie Dixon. Number 1 in purple, Desmond Bain, back in the lineup. Now here's Noy all the way in the backcourt when the ball got inbounded. Kenrich Williams for 3. Good range for the big man.
What a shot.
41% from beyond the arc for Williams.
Oh, and typically the percentages go down when you dribble it like that. I mean, he danced around with it and then pulled it. It's a tough shot.
Maybe the most underappreciated big-time player in the Big 12, Kenrich Williams. There he is again, gives it up. More of a concerted effort by TCU to go inside. That shot was erased again by Konate. 4 blocks for number 50.
I've never seen a big guy block it with 2 hands like that, as well as Konate does. He's almost exclusively with the 2 hands.
Now Konate on offense turned it over. Robinson surveying, and a veteran move by Alex Robinson, drawing the contact from behind on Carter. Tell you what, Alex Robinson's going to need an ice bath after tonight.
Yeah, he is. Again, this is what Javon Carter does best. I mean, he denies the ball, gets after it, and I think that's a foul. And frankly, I thought he fouled him about 15 seconds earlier. Now, Bob Huggins wanted to travel on Robinson, but it's one of those things where Carter, I mean, he's going to get after you, and you know, again, maybe they're calling this the 2nd or 3rd foul, and Robinson does jump into him.
That was a point of emphasis for the officials coming into this season. Offensive players would not get away with that, but it's a little more difficult to call when the defensive player is coming from behind you.
Yeah, it is. And I like the way that officials are calling it now. I don't like when offensive players do that. But again, I thought he got fouled about 15 seconds earlier at the top of the key.
TCU on an 8-2 run to start the half. They find themselves down by 5, make it 7 with Teddy Allen's first bucket of the second half. And he's in double digits with 10. Williams, drive and kick. Offensive rebound for Williams. Rodzianski. Too strong, shots not dropping for TCU. 14th in the nation in field goal percentage with the Horned Frogs. They shoot it at a 50% clip collectively. Tonight, not so much.
Well, that's one of the things. You typically think a good shooting team will be able to beat the press because they're going to get open looks. It's also going to get into your legs. I think TCU played on Saturday, traveled. I think their legs look a little bit dead on some of these shots.
With 2 on the shot clock, Williams with the block, and he leaks out up ahead, but it just goes out of his outstretched arms. Aggressive play by TCU. They've cut the West Virginia lead to 7, 15.5 to go.
ESPN's exclusive presentation of college basketball is brought.
Do not adjust your screens. Those 4 auditions for who gets to be the next West Virginia Mountaineer mascot. And the debate will rage on until the final decision is made. But we've got a debate in college basketball, Chris Spatola. The top 16 teams were just announced over the weekend, and a lot of people have problems with the seeding so far. What say you about what we see?
Well, I think one of their hats was alive. I thought I saw it moving around. Look, this was clearly to draw attention. I mean, Michigan State, if you watch that game against Purdue, that's two heavyweights. They are not a 3 seed. I don't like Ohio State as a 4 seed. They've beaten Purdue and Michigan State.
You think they're better than that?
Absolutely. But, you know, look, it's a committee trying to draw attention, trying to draw debate to what they're doing, and you take it for what it's worth. I don't like the quadrant system. It's counterintuitive. It doesn't make any sense. Other than that, the play was pretty good.
Well, Kansas is a 2 seed right now, and Texas Tech, who is a game up in the Big 12 standings and already beat Kansas at Allen Fieldhouse, is a 3 seed. How do they explain that one?
Again, other than that, Mrs. Lincoln, the play was pretty good. But like, I think they're trying to, you know, like college football, putting it out. You draw conversation, draw attention, and here's the Big 12 projections seed-wise.
Now, Joey Brackett's rarely is wrong, but even now, you look at what's ahead for all these teams in contention of the Big 12, and you realize there's still so much basketball left to play. Kansas City's going to be bananas for the Big 12 tournament, and there's still 6 games left in the regular season.
Well, and we always forget this time of year how much the conference tournaments actually impact seeding. And like to your point, there's a lot of basketball left.
Robinson. Here's Ahmed Hamdi. Tough shot with the left hand. Kenrich Williams is on the spot. 3 on the shot clock. They got to fire it up. Bain does and hits the prayer.
Kenrich Williams is relentless on the offensive glass, and he buys his team 3 points. Now, they're 3 of a prayer, but man, Kenrich Williams is relentless.
How about 9 points, 6 rebounds, 5 assists for Kenrich Williams already. 2-possession ball game. And Teddy Allen is turning in his best offensive performance in over a month.
Well, that's the offensive surge. They're getting it partly from their bench. Beetle Boland starting on the bench tonight. Teddy Allen, both guys have come in and given them offense.
J.D. Miller too strong. And the save by Bain, and Miller has it. Robinson. Out of bounds, it stays TCU basketball.
It's amazing, Rich, how many of these shots go down at the end of a clock, a prayer or not, because there's no pressure, right? You throw it up, nobody cares if you make or you miss. You see the relentlessness from Kenrich Williams on the O board, leading to that heave.
Well, if you're going to have someone throw up a prayer like that, it might as well be the top 3-point shooter in the Big 12, Desmond Bain. Robinson probing. There's Brodzianski going up against Kanate, and he gets it to go. Allen scoring for TCU. Vlad Brodzianski, the first-born Frog, in double digits. He has 11. 7 minutes gone by in the second half. Carter off the curve.
That's the improvement in the game. He did not have that even at the beginning of last year. A down screen coming off firing.
9 for Carter, averaging 17 plus a game. Williams. Now Bain for 3. Yes! Another 3-pointer by Desmond Bain puts him in double digits with 11.
And again, I want to talk about the passer. I mean, how about the poise from Kenrich Williams? Gets a double, pivots, and then finds Bain wide open.
9 points, 6 rebounds, 6 assists for Kenrich Williams. He's got 10 double-doubles on the season. He's heading into that territory now.
Again, West Virginia doesn't just speed up your body, they want to speed up your mind.
Robinson. Ill-advised, just a 33% 3-point shooter. Desmond Bain starting to heat up, one of the hot shooters in the nation.
He is firing away, like you said. This is Javon Carter coming off the down screen, and then Bain knocking it down on the nice pass from Kenrich Williams, and how about Jamie Dixon? Fired up.
31, Rich. Thanks, Ravi. And Jamie Dixon, the head coach of TCU, Chris Patola, probably said it best. He said, in all his years of coaching, and keep in mind, he was a Big East coach when they were dominant. He said, this Big 12 season, we don't have a bad team. That is unheard of. Every team in this league overall above 500. No other league in the country can say that. The average margin of victory in league play is under 10 points. It's anybody's guess who's going to come out on top.
Well, the league has no bottom. There's no doubt about that. I mean, it's, you know, I don't know if there's a Final Four team. We will see. But there is no bottom.
Joe Lunardi has both of these teams in, and that despite the fact that TCU has a 5-7 record in conference. But every win in this league is a good win in the eyes of the committee. Here comes Carter. Instant offense, Beetle Bolden back on the floor. But the offense comes from Wes Harris this time.
He's got 2 threes tonight. A guy who has not shot the ball well at all. Percentage in the 20s from there. A nice driving kick, good offense, and again, you find a guy in Wesley Harris, hasn't made a lot of shots this year, but steps into that one, bottom.
Super Tuesday presented by Boost Mobile on ESPN. It's 7 Eastern. Trae Young and the number 23 Oklahoma Sooners taking on number 7 Texas Tech. First place in the Big 12. Followed at 9 when number 1 Virginia battles Miami. Both games available on the ESPN app. And now more than ever, Chris, that win against Virginia for West Virginia looks as good as any non-conference win you can have with them ranked top in the country.
There's no question that it does. There's no question.
Well, Texas Tech is going to be on Super Tuesday as well, and they have a game lead on the Kansas Jayhawks. They are 15-0 at home and have won 6 straight overall. What is so special about this year's Texas Tech team?
They are the most athletic team in the Big 12. They are incredibly physical defensively in their man-to-man half-court defense, and their motion offense is unpredictable movement. And they're playing without Zach Smith. They are incredibly well coached. I really like that team. I think they've got a shot to play second weekend type of basketball.
They certainly have a chance to control their own destiny. They have Kansas still on the schedule coming up on February 24th in Lubbock. And they'll be taking on these Mountaineers again in a revenge game in the Big 12 regular season finale.
Well, they have 2 freshmen no one really talks about in Zaire Smith and Jared Culver. 2 really athletic, talented young players.
Williams gets tripped out of bounds, 15 on the shot clock.
You know, the one thing with Virginia being 1, I still think Villanova should have been 1.
Yeah.
And I still think they are. And I get they lost to St. John's, who, you know, look, they beat Duke the game prior and then they go on to beat Villanova. But to go and pound Butler the way that Villanova did without 2 starters.
Brodzianski lost sight of the ball. Here comes Bolden. Blocked from behind. And it's going to be TCU basketball. Good hustle play by Alex Robinson.
Yeah, basket-saving play.
And just to put a bow on that Villanova conversation, isn't that something that the committee... Here's Noy again on the leak out. And he has burned West Virginia numerous times with that play.
Well, that is clearly scouting. I mean, TCU came in knowing that that was available, and they have gone to it over and over again in this game.
Allen with the floater off the window. 14 for Teddy Allen. But the committee should take into consideration teams playing injured, like Villanova. And it doesn't seem like maybe they did this time.
Absolutely.
That's just the AP voters, of course, at this point.
And what do they know?
Here's Noy. A couple of vicious dunks by Kwat Noy in this contest. 10 on the shot clock for the Frogs. Williams lost it. Here's Bolden. Pinned by Williams. And they called goaltending on Kenrich Williams. Count the bucket for Beetle Bolden, who has a dozen. There's Robinson.
That's a smart decision.
Yeah, it was a 1-on-4 for Alex Robinson that time down.
Well, it was a 1-on Kanate is what it was.
There's Robinson, a little bit of a mismatch, and he tries to take advantage. Gives it off to Brodzianski. Good patience in the paint by Vlad Brodzianski, who has 13.
West Virginia does such a good job converging on the ball when it ends up in the paint. The presence of mind, and again, the patience of Brodzianski to get that thing up.
8 minutes and 50 seconds to go. That jumper is off, but it's just an 8-point West Virginia lead, and it's reminiscent of this past Saturday when Oklahoma State was here inside WVU Coliseum and just kind of hanging around, and ultimately they made their run late in the game and stole one here in Morgantown, and that has been a disturbing trend for West Virginia.
It has, and it's really in the second half where I think teams, they become a little bit numb, comfortable to the pressure. I mean, that one against Kansas here, Kentucky here, blowing those leads. You could even add, they were up 11, West Virginia, on the road at Texas Tech, and ended up losing that game.
Bolden got fouled by Robinson, and Beetle Bolden, an 82% free throw shooter, will go to the line.
He is so explosive as a scorer. He's so hungry to score. And when he gets it to that left hand, he becomes very, very effective.
Well, Chris, this is turning out to be one of those rare college basketball games where both teams now seem to be more than willing to forgo the three-point shot and instead pound it inside. You don't see that too often anymore.
Well, you expected it to some extent from West Virginia, certainly not from TCU, one of the better three-point shooting teams in the country.
Now Javon Carter on the bench for what you would expect to be just a brief moment or two. 8.5 to go in the game. Where do you think the offense comes from now with him on the bench?
Well, you assume Kenrich Williams at some point. They haven't really posted him much in this second half. They tried to do that a little bit in the first, playing more of an open motion.
10 on the clock. Hamdi put the ball down in the area where Beetle Bolden could get to it, and he forces the jump ball, possession arrow to WVU.
He has been so active tonight. You can't say enough about Beetle Bolden. Again, you know, this day and age, you get a lot of young players, they get benched and they go to witness protection for 3 weeks. This young man came out with a chip on his shoulder. He responded the way you would want, and really how you'd expect a Bob Huggins player to respond.
14 tonight for Bolden. He has the ball now, guarded by Bain. Skip pass in the corner, 10 on the shot clock. West shrugs off Kenrich Williams and knocks down the triple.
He said, you're not going to give me some space, I'll create my own.
Here's Bain left alone. You can't do that against Desmond Bain.
He has such an effortless release, a repeatable form.
9th in the nation in three-point shooting. Desmond Bain now with 14. Allen. Every time he touches the ball, he's putting it up, and he's hitting them tonight.
I say he's never seen a shot he doesn't like, and tonight he is knocking them down.
16 for Allen. 7 minutes to go. An and one situation for Alex Robinson, his first field goal of the night. 64-54. West Virginia, 7 minutes to go to another victory.
Down the lane, I mean, this is Getting to that right hand. He's a lefty, absorbs the contact. A nice little kiss off the glass. And he has had to work for everything tonight, Rich.
And in Big 12 play, 84 assists and 40 turnovers coming into tonight. And he has been a TCU Horned Frog his whole life, even though he started his college career at Texas A&M. He transferred after his freshman year. Why? Because his mom, Darla, was a basketball player at TCU in Fort Worth. She played at the same time. Jamie Dixon played basketball. Dixon, by the way, a two-time Southwestern Conference champion, led that league in assists in his junior year. And he said, Mom, I'm thinking of coming home. And she said, absolutely. And the number 25 that Alex Robinson wears is the same number as Mom Darla wore when she was playing for the Horned Frogs. Robinson completes the three-point play. It's now single-digit lead for West Virginia once again. Under 7 minutes to go. Quiet night for Konate. Allen with the pass. Bolden right at Brodzianski. Comes up empty, and a fresh 30 for West Virginia. No Javon Carter on the floor right now for Bob Huggins. He went out at the 8.5-minute mark. Konate hasn't had the touch tonight. Another three attempt. West Virginia got fortunate there. Bain was wide open yet again.
Every time he shoots it, you think it's going in. They're lucky there because there wasn't anybody within 15 feet.
Jamie Dixon exhorting his team in the final 6 minutes of this game. Still with a puncher's chance, down just 9. Huggins wanted a foul, didn't get one. Allen rolls off the rim. And the foul's going to be called on Quatnoy, and he better be careful. Joe DeRosa is giving him the stare down now. And if you recall, Quatnoy was ejected the first time these two teams met in Fort Worth back on January 22nd. That time, he almost got the gate from Joe DeRosa.
And you got to be careful there. I mean, that showed some restraint from Joe DeRosa. You can't run up on an official like this. I mean, it was a foul, clearly. You can't just run up on an official like that.
I love DeRosa's reaction there. It's priceless. Noy comes away with it and coughs it back up. Miles with the ball. And now Javon Carter back on for what you would expect would be the remainder of the game. Oh, that's Wes Harris for 3. His 3rd triple of the night. And here's Noy again. This time, he's rejected at the rim. And Brodzianski, good hustle down the floor to follow that one up. He'll go to the line and shoot 2.
TCU really has thrown that ball over the top with a lot of success here tonight. And put a lot of pressure on that back end of West Virginia to erase some of those attempts. They almost had it on the first shot by Noy.
14 now for Brodzianski. He's been in double digits his last 17 games for Jamie Dixon. Now J.D. Miller replaces Noy in the TCU lineup.
Checks in for TCU.
For some reason, it's a 10-point game, Chris. It feels like it's a lot closer than that.
It does. You know, both teams have kind of gone back and forth. I mean, this is where TCU, at some point, you're going to have to get some stops. And a little full court pressure after the free throw.
Allen gave it up. Here's Miller. Hands by Carter, but they're going to call him for the foul. And Javon Carter is giving the freshman Teddy Allen a little bit of a lesson right now.
Well, credit TCU. They slapped the press on after the free throw. And Bob Huggins doesn't like the call. And, you know, again, he gets his arms there. I mean, that's a foul. And Javon Carter's the best in the country at doing that, but he fouled him.
Miller hits the first free throw. Both teams in the bonus. West Virginia 2 timeouts remaining. TCU with just one as Issa Ahmad checks in for Bob Huggins. 2 for 2 for J.D. Miller, giving him 6. Just like that, a 67-59 West Virginia lead. Bob Huggins wanted the call, and he thought he was going to get the call, and then Terry Weimer walked by him, and all of a sudden Bob Huggins is not happy again.
Weimer said he stepped out of bounds, so we couldn't see it from here.
Now Robinson trapped. The gamble by Miles, no. Here's Williams, good ball movement. And the ball goes out of bounds with 4.5 minutes to go. Well, this play happened right in front of Bob Huggins.
Yeah, and I think he does step out of bounds here. Yeah, right there on that second step. And Bob Huggins wanted a foul, but the call, Weimer didn't call that. He called it going in the other direction.
Now fresh 30 for the Frogs. Trailing by 8 on the road. Steal by Ahmad.
It's a bad play by Brodzianski. He's a little bit of a no man's land. He's in that a little higher than mid post and just didn't know what to do with it once he picked it up.
Carter. Harris blocked by Williams. Miller. They wave off the basket, and it's an offensive foul on J.D. Miller. 3:39 to go. It's crunch time in Morgantown. Jamie Dixon, all he could do is smile.
ESPN's exclusive presentation of college basketball is presented by
over on ESPN. Here in Morgantown, it's been the bench for Bob Huggins, who's come through, namely Beetle Bolden on the left, Teddy Allen on the right.
Yeah, those two guys have really given them a scoring punch, and that's where it adds to that depth. You know, we're so used to West Virginia playing 11, 12 guys. They've really gone to their bench tonight. You can get some offense off of that bench.
More full court pressure by the Mountaineers, who lead 38-6 in bench points. Keep in mind, TCU limited by injuries, only 7 players tonight. Miles, what a backdoor pass by Javon Carter.
And a nice design out of the timeout. ISO'd on that wing. Miles with a nice backdoor cut and then a turnover.
And you get the feeling like West Virginia is about to slam the door shut on the Horned Frogs, counting down to 3 minutes to go and a double-digit lead. Miles will go to the line.
This is out of a timeout. Again, the overplay on the ISO side. Miles does a nice job setting it up. And then finishing on the other side of the basket, knowing that Bain was coming behind him. I mean, that's what you love. The execution tonight offensively has been much better for West Virginia. And the score, yeah, we talked about making baskets, enhancing their defense. I mean, they're holding TCU to 59 right now. TCU in conference is scoring 83 a game. That's the kindest that Bob Huggins has been to the officials all night, whispering sweet nothings.
2 free throws for Miles extends the lead to a dozen for the Mountaineers. 9 points, 7 assists for Javon Carter tonight. Noy for 3. And it's going to be off Konate, TCU basketball. The TCU season low this year was 64 points at Allen Fieldhouse back in February 6th. And they might escape that season low tonight in Morgantown, but not by much. And Konate will go to the line and a chance at a 3-point play.
And West Virginia's had this explosion tonight, and he's been relatively quiet. Only played 3 minutes in that first half, but when he gets 2 feet in the paint, you know, playing in the post is about where you catch it and the angle you have. When you can catch it that deep with that type of body, goes over that left shoulder. Nicely done.
Konate completes the 3-point play. I asked Sags Konate earlier today, what does he remember from that January 22nd game that they lost in Fort Worth to TCU? He said, I remember losing. This West Virginia team came in tonight focused and connected. Noy, no, bodies go flying. That's Williams and Miles who both hit the deck. Check that, that's Wesley Harris.
TCU foul number 34, Kendrick Williams.
And that foul is going to go on Kendrick Williams, and the double bonus now for West Virginia. 2 free throws on every subsequent Horned Frog foul.
This has been a physical game by 2 teams that are trying to make their NCAA case. This has been a physical game.
Well, you look ahead at the calendar, and for TCU, who obviously might have a little bit more of a tough time getting in the NCAA committee's favor, they have Oklahoma State, at Iowa State, and Baylor up next. And this year, despite the fact that we both agree there is no easy out in this league, that is the bottom of this league, and so far this season, TCU has fared well against those teams. That ball goes off Carter's back and out of bounds. And just to illustrate the point we were just talking about, Chris, when you look at TCU's record against the top tier teams in this league and the bottom tier, they do pretty well against the bottom 5. 4-1 so far against the teams we just mentioned, but only 1-6 against teams in the top 5, and West Virginia is one of those teams. The 1 win coming against the Mountaineers. It's going to be TCU ball with 1:52 to go. And West Virginia looking to ice this game away. A 14-point lead. Holding one of the best scoring teams in the nation. Well under their season average of 85 points. They're going to have to work fast if they have a prayer of getting back in this. Robinson dribbles it off his leg out of bounds. It's going to be a foul on West Virginia. Well, we talked about TCU's schedule coming up. How about the Mountaineers? They exact revenge tonight. If they close this game out, then they go on the road to Kansas. Talk about a revenge game. They gave up that big lead here in Morgantown to lose to the Jayhawks. Then they've got at Baylor versus Iowa State. And then they end the regular season with a rematch against Texas Tech.
Yeah, they're only 2 games back. I mean, that's why that Oklahoma State loss is so huge here in Morgantown, because you're only a game back if you grab that.
Right now over on ESPN, Baylor's up 2 with time running down in that game against Texas. Blocked out of bounds by Brodzianski with 1:19 to go and 6 on the shot clock.
But their schedule affords them the opportunity to make up ground.
Miles got the shooter's touch.
You know, that's another guy, Rich, who's played with a verve tonight. He's really played with the energy that we have come to expect of Daxter Miles. I think his lack of offense has affected his state of mind, but he's come out again, inserted into that lineup, and again has come out with that chip on his shoulder that he always plays with.
A dozen points for Miles tonight, averaging just about 12 a game this season. Now we have a timeout on the floor for an official review with 1:15 to go. You know, you look at this TCU team, Chris, and they're 5-7. It looks like they're going to end up at 5-8 after tonight. And yet, when you think about how good this conference is, there are a lot of people who feel like, you know, 8 losses, 9 losses, you're still going to have a chance to get in, even at 9-9.
Yeah. You know, that I'm one of those who errs on that side, where these power conference teams, like a TCU, you got to give them a look based on who they've played in their conference. And some of these mid-major teams, it's just the way of the world. You haven't played the same schedule that a Big 12 team that may be 2-3 games under 500 has played.
Bain got it to Hamdi. 1 minute to go. Sags Kanate with another monster block. That's 5 blocks for Sagaba Kanate tonight.
He is one of the best in the country at this. His timing is impeccable.
5th in the nation in blocks per game. And a chance at an and one for Desmond Bain.
Sag Kanate, he's not only one of the best shot blockers, he's one of the most improved players in the country, certainly in the Big 12. Guy who hasn't been playing the game very long, so much improved this season, and his ability to block shots is a game changer and will eventually make him a lot of money playing this game.
Bain can't complete the 3-point play. 45 seconds to go in this one. And West Virginia doing something they have struggled to do this season, close out games in which they've had leads. And a chance at a 3-point play by Kanate. Not exactly a highlight reel dunk, but it still counts as 2 points. And a chance for 3.
It'll get him 2. But he just kind of, the defense there, you've got to stay until Hamdi's able to get home. But the slip down the lane by Kanate, and like you said, 2 is 2.
Sagaba Kanate, 8 points, 5 rebounds, 5 blocks. Hamdi got it back.
Basket by Hamdi.
So the West Virginia Mountaineers, a bounce-back victory after Saturday's loss at home to Oklahoma State, handle their business against TCU in front of the home crowd. Your final score is West Virginia 82, TCU 66. Tonight's player of the game, brought to you by Phillips 66, is Mountaineers reserve Teddy Allen, the freshman out of Mesa, Arizona, 8 for 13 from the field with 16 points to pace West Virginia. Javon Carter with 9 points and picked up his 500th career assist in tonight's win, the 19th on the season for West Virginia, who improved to 8-5 on the season in Big 12 play. That'll do it for Morgantown. For Chris Spatola, I'm Rich Hollenberg saying so long for now. College Basketball Live comes up next, so let's send you to the studio.